Hello, beautiful people. I'm Lulu. I'm so glad you're here. Today we're talking about something I'd really like to address. Something that's been sitting with me. Something I keep seeing everywhere, and I think it's causing a lot of pain. I was listening to a podcast very recently. Someone whose work I really respect, someone I genuinely align with. And they said something that I hear over and over in the personal development and wellness space. They talked about how all our suffering comes from our thinking, from believing our thoughts and being attached to them. And they said that once you realize this, once you become aware of it, you can change your life, and I quote, in minutes. They also spoke about what you resist persists, and the more you think about what is, the more you create what is. And if you want to create a different future, you have to think different thoughts. Thinking about lack creates more lack, and so on. In a nutshell, they spoke about how your thoughts create your reality. Now, I fully align with all of this, and I'm sure many of you have heard similar things. There is truth in the foundation of what they're saying. And here's what I want to say about that. Our thinking does create a lot of our suffering. Some people say it actually creates all of our suffering. Our attachment to thoughts, the way we believe every thought that passes through our minds as if it was absolute truth. Yes, that creates pain. I'm not disputing that. And at the same time, what I want to address is this idea of instant transformation in minutes, fast-tracked or rapid transformation. This promise that once you become aware, once you realize that what you resist persists, once you understand that your thoughts are just thoughts and not truth, and they are what create your reality. That once you realize this, everything will change rapidly. Before I go any further, for context, I am an optimist. I'm a glass half full to overflowing person. I absolutely believe this shift in thinking, this transformation is possible. I've experienced it in my own life. But what I don't believe in is the timeline we're being sold. What I don't believe in is the idea that awareness alone creates instant change. And often, there's no follow-up. Okay, so I have the knowledge. Now what? Oh, I need to buy the course and the book and the mastermind group to fix my thinking. Well, what if I don't have the means to do that right now? We seem to be suffering twice. Once from our actual struggles, our thoughts, and again from believing that we should be able to fix it immediately if we just got it. We have the answer, the secret. Now, just get on with it. Welcome to the Lulu Essey podcast, where there is no editing and no polish, just honest conversations that stay exactly as they happened. Conversations that invite you to consider that transformation is an inside job. And for the newcomers, mental fitness is how I talk about mental health as a daily practice. I'd love it if you could share this episode with someone you love. Sometimes just knowing we're not alone in the struggle makes all the difference. And if you're enjoying the podcast, leaving a rating or review helps more people find these conversations. So let me unpack this instant transformation idea a bit more, because I think it's really important and it seems to be causing a lot of pain, confusion, and a deeply profound sense of failure. First, I want to acknowledge that instant transformation does happen for some people. It's real. Eckhart Tolle, sitting on a park bench, having a complete spiritual awakening. I honor and respect him and the work he offers the world. Then there are people who spend time in ashrams with yogi masters, removed from all external distractions, and they also have profound epiphanies that shift everything for them. These experiences exist, and I acknowledge and honor that. But here's what I've come to understand. For the vast majority of us, and I'm talking about maybe 98% of us, that is not our reality. We're living regular lives with jobs and families and bills and responsibilities, and we're being made to feel like failures because we can't simply decide to think differently and have everything shift. And here's what's making it worse. There's more information available now than ever before. More podcasts, more books, more courses, more workshops, more teachers. And instead of helping, in many ways, it's making us feel more and more like failures. Because we're consuming all this wisdom. We're learning all these concepts. And still, we can't seem to get it right. We still have bad days. Days that suck so bad, we wish we could crawl out of our own skins. We still get caught in negative thinking. We still struggle. We still suffer. Why? When we have all this knowledge. So we start to believe that something's wrong with us, that we're not spiritual enough, not conscious enough, not evolved enough. That if we just tried harder, if we just understood it better, that we'd be able to flip that switch. Yes, you know, that one that everyone seems to speak about. And everything would change. But that's not how it works. And I want to pull back the curtain on what it actually takes to change your thought patterns, because I think we need more honesty and much more conversation about this. Let's begin with the neuroscience. Here's what's actually happening in your brain. Your thoughts, the ones you've been thinking for years, for decades, have created neural pathways. These are literal physical structures in your brain. Every time you think a thought, you're reinforcing a pathway. The more you think that thought, the stronger and more entrenched that pathway becomes. It's exactly like creating a path through a forest. The more you walk it, the clearer it gets, the easier it becomes to follow. We've spoken about this several times before. So when you've spent 20, 30, 40, 50 or more years thinking in certain patterns, believing certain things about yourself, about the world, about what's possible for you. Those pathways are deeply ingrained. They're clear, well-worn paths in the forest of your brain. And you cannot simply think your way out of neural pathways that took decades to form. That's not how our brains work. And that's not pessimism. That's biology. That's being honest about what change really requires. Creating new pathways requires awareness, yes, but it also requires time, repetition, self-compassion, self-love, patience, and my good friends, consistency and grace. You have to consciously choose the new thought, the new path, over and over and over again. And at first, it's like pushing through thick bush. It's profoundly uncomfortable and confusing. It doesn't feel natural. The old pathway is right there, clear and easy, calling you back. It's so much easier to think what we've always thought. Our brains feel comfortable with old familiar pathways. But every time you choose the new thought, you're making a new pathway a little clearer. And eventually, not instantly, but eventually, that new pathway becomes easier to walk than the old one. This is what real transformation looks like. And it takes time. It takes time. It takes time. And yes, I've said that 3 times intentionally. So, if instant transformation isn't realistic for most of us, what does a sustainable path look like? First comes the awareness. You have to start observing your thoughts instead of just automatically believing them. Become the observer. Distance yourself from your thoughts. This is where mindfulness practices are so helpful because they help you create a little bit of space between you and your thoughts. So, in practice, this goes something like noticing, oh, I'm having that thought that I'm not good enough, instead of just believing I'm not good enough as absolute truth. Sounds simple. On many levels it is, but this awareness is profound and it's your launch pad. But here's what's crucial. Alongside awareness must come acceptance and non-judgment. You cannot criticize yourself, hate yourself, or beat yourself up through this process. Accept the thoughts. And I know this is hard for a lot of us. Acceptance is hard for me. Acceptance is the doorway to ease, to the beginnings of inner peace, to a little less anxiety and frustration. And again, you cannot judge yourself for having the thoughts you have, for falling back into old patterns, for not changing fast enough. You have to love yourself through the process. You have to be patient with yourself, to be compassionate towards yourself. Every time you judge yourself for having a negative thought, you're just adding another layer of suffering. You're suffering from the original thought, and now you're suffering from judging yourself for having that thought. Yeah, it's a real cluster. The awareness has to be gentle. It has to be compassionate. Oh, there's that thought again. That's okay. That's just my brain doing what it's been trained to do. After awareness comes willingness. And this is where I want to be really clear about what willingness means. It doesn't mean being willing to completely transform your thinking overnight. It doesn't mean forcing yourself to think positive thoughts when you're in the middle of despair. Willingness means, can I choose a slightly better thought? A slightly more loving thought? A thought that opens up just a little more possibility? Not the thought that's going to change my life entirely, but the thought that's going to give me a little bit of relief in this moment. Because that's what is possible. A little bit of relief in the moment. And that is enough. Here's the thing. We're not dealing with our whole lives right now. We're dealing with the present moment. We only ever have the present moment. The wonderful thing is that present moments stack up and they compound. But we can only deal with one moment at a time. What has really helped me, and I want to share this with you, is understanding that I don't have to go from complete despair and confusion straight to positivity and joy. That is vibrationally not possible. And trying to make that leap or expecting yourself to be able to make that leap just creates more suffering. Instead, I go from complete despair and confusion to a little less despair and confusion, and then a little less, and a little less. And then I start building momentum. And sometimes it's a painfully slow process. But we've been told that the minute you have the awareness of what's going on with your thoughts, that you can flick the switch and turn your life around instantly. You can do this transformation. And it requires time. But many people don't think that's sexy or viral, so they leave that part out. Because who wants to do something that requires effort? And it does require effort, consistency, persistence, patience, and you will be uncomfortable. For me, it means being loving and compassionate with myself, not expecting myself to go from crawling to being an Olympic athlete in a matter of seconds. And here's something I want to be really honest about. Sometimes when my thinking goes out of whack, I'm terrified that I'm transmitting that into my future, that I'm somehow messing up what's coming down the line for me just by having these thoughts, these fears, these moments of complete and utter confusion. And in those moments, I ask myself, how do I find just a little relief right now? And the truth is, there's no set formula. It's just doing the best I can in the moment. And here's what I'm learning to tell myself in those moments. My thoughts in this moment are not ruining my future. My future is not so fragile that a few hours or days of confused thinking will derail everything. What creates my future is the overall pattern, how I show up, how I treat myself and others, and what I'm willing to practice. Not whether I'm having the perfect thought in this moment. Do I want to do better? Do I want to do better? Yes. And the way I do it is a step at a time, a small, tiny step, but a step nonetheless. And I'm here to assure you that no step is too small or insignificant to make a difference. But we don't get to see the small steps and celebrate them because somebody has decided they're not sexy and not worthy to post about. Those small, unsexy, awkward, uncomfortable steps matter. They matter more than you think they do. And you can do this. I want to share something else with you because I think it's important you know this about me. I don't have this figured out. I'm figuring it out on a daily basis. There are days when despair and confusion have me in such a chokehold I can barely breathe. But I am willing. And I do the best I can. And some days my best is just saying, bugger it. I'm still here. I'm just here. I have no answers. I trust the answers will come, but right now I'm clueless. There are some days where it feels so natural and I'm in the flow, where I can observe my thoughts with compassion, where I can choose the more loving perspective, where everything feels aligned. It's so beautiful and it feels so good. And then there are other days where I feel completely lost and alone in the dark, confused and frightened. Days when I'm worried that my thoughts are messing up my future, even though I know intellectually that's not how it works. And then there are the in-between days when it feels just okay. Not great, not awful, just okay. I'm sharing this because I hope there are people listening who will recognize this in their own lives and feel a little bit of relief that they're not getting it wrong. Yes, we can choose to do it in a more loving way. We can find approaches that serve us better. But what you're currently doing is not wrong. You're doing the best you can with what you have right now. We're not here to make our current thinking wrong. We're simply deciding that we want a way of being that's going to have a more beneficial impact on our lives. A way that makes us the creators of our lives rather than the victims of our thinking. I'm not offering you the idealized pretty picture because that's not real life. Yes, there is always room for more joy, more love, more of what we want. Our lives can get better. There's always room for improvement, but let's not pretend the hard stuff isn't there. We go through periods where it feels hard every single day, and that's okay. Even if it doesn't feel okay, that's part of what makes us human. That's part of what makes this experience so unique. And when we get to the other side of that, which can take time, but when we get to the other side, we actually see the beauty hidden in those dark times. But don't try and see the beauty when you're in the thick of the darkness. Just know it's there. So, what actually creates transformation? What is enough? Before we get to any specific practice, before the breath work, before the meditation, before the journaling, before any of it, there's something that has to come first. Self-compassion, self-love. Because here's what I've learned. You can have all the tools in the world, all the practices, all the techniques, all the steps. But if you're using them like weapons against yourself, if you're using them to try and fix what's supposedly wrong with you, or to beat yourself into being better, they won't work, not sustainably. So when you notice that your thoughts are out of whack, when you catch yourself spiraling or stuck in a pattern you don't want to be in, try this first. Talk to yourself with compassion, with love. And I mean, really talk to yourself. Out loud, if that feels right. There's real power in hearing your own voice speak kindness to you. Or maybe in your mind, in your heart, but acknowledge where you are with gentleness. We teach children to self-soothe. This is self-soothing for adults. And it might sound something like this. Oh, there goes my thinking again. It's okay. At least I'm aware of it now. And that matters. I'm figuring this out. I have what it takes to figure this out. I'm finding my way as I go, and I'm hopeful that it's going to get better and better. I'm willing to practice, and I'm hopeful that it will become easier. I'll just keep practicing. And right now, it's uncomfortable. Actually, it sucks. And that's okay too. I'm unlearning something that I've been practicing all of my life, so I'm willing to be patient with myself. I'm willing to be gentle with myself. I'm willing to show up for myself. I've got this. Now, those are my words. Your words will be different, and that's the point. Use your own language. Use the words that feel true for you, the words that you would use with someone you love who was struggling. Because that's what this is. Learning to speak to yourself the way you would speak to someone you deeply care about. And here's why this matters so much. When you start with self-compassion and self-love, when you acknowledge where you are without judgment, something shifts. The tight grip of fear and judgment releases just a little. You've primed your brain, you've primed your heart, you've given yourself a bit of love first. And from that place, whatever practice you choose becomes so much more meaningful and so much more impactful. Because you're not doing it to fix yourself. You're doing it to support yourself. There's a huge difference. Throughout this podcast, I've shared tools that support this work. The kind witness, the 3-breath reset, in this moment only, the love framework, the whole framework, the enough framework, gratitude and grace as spiritual superfoods, putting your hand on your heart and saying, I will not abandon you. There are many of these practices. I've referred to them as tiny tools. They're all here for you, available in previous episodes, and they can all adapt to whatever capacity you have in any given moment. What matters more is your willingness to use the tool, not which specific tool you choose. What matters is to practice it, to fall down and get back up, to do the unsexy, unglamorous, repetitive work of choosing a better thought over and over and over again, even when you can't see the results yet. That's what the work is about. That's what creates real transformation, sustainable and lasting transformation. It's not the awareness alone. It's knowing your thoughts create your reality. It's the daily practice, the consistency, the patience, the self-compassion when you mess up, the willingness to keep showing up even when you feel like you're getting nowhere. The non-judgment of yourself and how far you think you are or aren't. That's what is enough. That's what's actually transforming your life and delivers results that stick. And yes, it's going to be hard and it's going to suck. And you will have moments when you don't know if it's even worth it. And I'm here to tell you it is so worth it. Quick recap: awareness, acceptance without judgment, willingness to choose a better feeling thought, practice, 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 and then use the tools that support you. Bring yourself back to the present moment. That's where it all begins, right here, right now. I want to leave you with this today, and you've heard me say this before, and from my heart, I want to say it again and again and again. You are not broken. You don't need to be fixed. You're not behind. You're not doing it wrong because you're not failing, because you haven't achieved transformation in minutes or days or weeks or months or even years. You're a human being doing the incredibly courageous and brave work of becoming more conscious, more intentional, more loving with yourself. And this work takes time. It takes patience. It takes compassion. It takes love and the willingness to keep showing up, even when you don't know what the hell you are doing. And here's what I know to be true. You have what it takes. You really have what it takes. Not because you're going to get it perfect, not because you're going to have all the answers, but because you're willing. You're willing to be aware, you're willing to try, you're willing to be patient with yourself as you figure this out. And that willingness, it's everything. So find what works for you. Practice it. Be patient with yourself. Start with self-compassion and self-love always. And trust that the small shifts you're making in each present moment, they're compounding. They are creating new pathways. They're changing things even when you can't see it. You're doing so much better than you think you are. And I'm really glad you're here doing this work alongside all of us who are also figuring it out as we go. Please share this episode with the people in your community, even if that community is one person. You can also watch the full episode on my YouTube channel, where you'll find shorts to support you on your journey. Thank you so much for listening. What comes from the heart reaches the heart. And today, with profound love, this comes from my heart to yours, with the knowing that you're beautiful. and you are brave, and you can do this, and you're doing it in your way. Be messy, be brave, be loving. I'll keep showing up for you. You show up for you.